It makes no sense to have in our water supply. I'm very, very proud of this state for being the first state to ban it, and I hope many more will come.
Members of President Trump's cabinet are here in Utah to promote bills the legislature passed.
U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy and Senator John Curtis rode the rails in Salt Lake City today to discuss Utah's transportation future. But I asked them about a question that's on Utahns' minds today: tariffs. Their answers coming tonight.
Well, a cool front moving in. How far will temperatures drop? And does it bring a chance of rain? I'll let you know.
A prison inmate is up for parole in the death of one man, but investigators still want to know whether he had anything to do with his wife's murder, too.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Bob Evans. Our big story tonight has to do with two big names in the Trump administration visiting Salt Lake City. They come on the heels of an ongoing stock market nosedive. It was another volatile day on Wall Street. In early trading, stocks tumbled, then surged on rumors the president might pause tariffs or enter negotiations. But about 40 minutes later, the White House denied the rumors, and stocks made a $2.4 trillion swing. Other markets around the world took a beating, for some the worst since 1997. The Dow lost 349 points today to close at 37,966. The Nasdaq gained 15 and the S&P shed 12. President Trump is threatening China with more tariffs after China raised tariffs on U.S. goods in retaliation. Other countries, however, seem to be lining up to negotiate. Israel is one of them, with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu meeting with Mr. Trump at the White House today.
We will eliminate the trade deficit with the United States. And I think Israel can serve as a model for many countries who ought to do the same.
We've been ripped off and taken advantage of by many countries over the years, and can't do it anymore.
The White House says 50 countries have reached out to negotiate on tariffs, including Japan, Canada, and Mexico. Meantime, Utah's consumer sentiment fell 8% in March, from 88.1 in February down to 81.1. A similar survey conducted by the University of Michigan measured an even more significant decline by 11.9% in sentiment among Americans as a whole. Now, as we mentioned, there were two big visits to Utah today by members of the Trump administration. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. praised Utah for taking the lead with the bill to ban fluoride from public drinking water. And Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy discussed infrastructure upgrades ahead of the 2034 Olympics. We had crews covering it all today. Let's start with Fox 13 News reporter Jeremy Toms, who also asked about this pressing issue of tariffs.
Plenty of Utahns rely on the front runner to get around. UTA trustee Jeff Acerson is among them.
It's pretty much a straight shot. You don't have to worry about driving, you don't have to worry about traffic. You'll be able to do your work, have conversation.
But even for him, Monday's train conversations were out of the ordinary.
To have someone in Washington that's aware of what Utah is and the growth that's coming here.
As they involved U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy.
His goal is to make sure that the funds that are expended are well used and delivered on time, and I think he has a partner in the state of Utah.
Now arriving at Murray Central.
Secretary Duffy and others stopped briefly at Murray Central, one of several areas proposed for expansion in the Front Runner 2X project. But we asked whether tariffs currently being imposed could have an impact on these projects and Utahns as a whole.
For some who say prices are going to go up, I would tell you that the American worker, when unleashed, can produce products more cost effectively because we are more efficient and harder working.
Senator John Curtis was slightly more reserved in his response.
I'm very, very sympathetic, particularly with small businesses that are dealing with tariffs. And we'll see where this goes, but we're clearly on this path that we're committed to.
When I tried to ask if he believes the tariffs are the right path for the United States.
So I promised the Secretary he's going to make his flight.
The press briefing abruptly ended, 3 questions in. but he did put emphasis on finding a way to protect businesses.
And I think we in the Senate need to do all we can to get a good runway for our small businesses and bring predictability into this as well.
Ensuring they don't go off the rails amid what he called a, quote, long-term investment we're making as a country. In Salt Lake City, Jeremy Tom, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Lee Zeldin are here in Utah promoting a series of bills the Utah legislature passed.
Utah is taking the lead in so many ways.
I'm Ben Winslow at the University of Utah. The cabinet officials believe these bills align with President Trump's Make America Healthy Again agenda, and they say they should be held up as a model for the rest of the nation.
Fluoride should not be in our water.
Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. praised Utah's fluoride ban, claiming science has changed.
It makes no sense to have in our water supply. I'm very, very proud of this state for being the first state to ban it, and I hope many more will come.
Utah's new law removes fluoride from water, but families can obtain a prescription for it from a dentist or pharmacist.
I've had legislators, county commissioners from states across the country reaching out saying, what is Utah doing? How did you do this? With the intent of trying to duplicate what we've done here in Utah.
EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin suggested he'll look at what his agency can do about it nationally.
So what EPA is going to do is go back and look at these studies.
Outside the event, a few dozen people demonstrated against Kennedy and the Trump administration's policies. Others say Utah's fluoride ban will have harms.
We're going to see, especially in children, we're going to see an increase in cavities. There's no question about it. The research shows a minimum of 25% increase.
I am very disappointed that we have somebody in that position in our country who has this opinion and who doesn't appear to be looking at what we call settled science.
The cabinet officials also praised Representative Christian Chevrier's bills to ban SNAP benefits from being used to purchase soda and food additives from some school lunches.
It's the right thing to do. Do we want our kids to learn? Do we want them to be healthy? Do we want them to grow up to be healthy adults? We do. So I think this is the right direction to go.
While here, the House Speaker tells me he also pressed them to allow Utah to administer some federal programs, including Medicare and Medicaid.
We know that Utah can manage it more effectively, more efficiently, and more affordably.
When I asked Secretary Kennedy about it,
we are determined to do that, and we're talking about doing it already, and we're going to move very quickly.
These bills will take effect in May. At the University of Utah, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
You heard it praised just now here on Fox 13 News at 9 under House Bill 402, signed into law on the 27th of March. Utah public schools will not be allowed to sell or serve food containing several different additives starting in the 2026-27 school year. The School Nutrition Association of Utah says there are still details to work out, but she says each individual state defines what ultra-processed food is. So it can be difficult for vendors to provide meals under the new regulations.
There's no specification in who monitors this and what is the I guess the consequence of not following it. We do hear from parents at the district levels and the charter school levels that there are some that are very excited for the healthy meals and there's some that just want their children to eat.
This is just one of those things where so many additives are in our food. All you have to do is look at a label for one country versus ours and all the things that we put in our food and ask why.
The new law has exceptions. It allows parents to provide food to their students that includes the listed additives and would allow those foods in vending machines or as a concession item at school events. I don't know about you, Breck, but when I was in school, a little quarter pint of milk was 5 cents.
Right.
5
and it was an apple and a peanut butter sandwich.
Well, no, actually it was 25 cents for the whole lunch.
Wow.
But if you had 5 cents, you could get milk.
We are dating ourselves, aren't we?
Just a little. Anyway, what a gorgeous sunset
I know. Well,
behind
Mother
you,
Nature
huh?
serving up for us the right ingredients here to make for a spectacular day as we end the day and showing you a photo coming up on our Facebook page, Utah's Weather Authority, highlighting the stadium, the B Stadium, a new season, a new stadium. It all kicks off with the season home opener tomorrow, and tonight it was a beautiful sunset, a few high clouds throughout the day, as we did have some afternoon winds, which allowed temperatures to kick up by about 10 degrees in comparison to Sunday, where if we look at the official highs, we got up to 67 degrees in Logan, as well as upper 60s in Ogden, working our way up to the low 70s. Salt Lake City through Provo, and a string of 70s moving through southwestern Utah, eastern Utah, most spots getting up into the mid to upper 60s. Currently, we're at 62 degrees in Salt Lake City. This is more closer to where our average high temperatures should be throughout the afternoon. We're down into the 50s across western and eastern Utah, still holding on to the 70s though in St. George, where winds west central Utah anywhere between 15 to 20 miles per hour. Winds will subside here in the overnight hours, but winds will kick up a little bit tomorrow as we prepare for a cool front that's going to be moving through the state. Ahead of that, we're still seeing some clouds, and we're looking at a little action from radar, maybe potentially near the Utah-Idaho border. We should see some rain showers, kind of some sprinkles here in the overnight hours. With this system moving in, we're going to see a temperature change come tomorrow. But tonight, mild 50, partly cloudy skies. We wake up with temperatures, above average, but it's going to be a little bit cooler. Do we see a chance of rain with this system moving in? I'll let you know coming up.
Jealousy, resentment, affairs, and murder.
A body found here in the desert led to the conviction of one man who's now up for parole. But are there more questions that need to be answered?
You're watching Fox 13 News, part of the Scripps News Group.
Crystal was a loving mother, a daughter, sister.
My feelings are that he is just not ready for society.
He was convicted in one man's death, but investigators still want to know what, if anything, he had to do with the death of his wife. I'm Fox 13 investigative reporter Nate Carlisle on a story I've been covering for 20 years. Who killed Crystal Bradley?
This has been one of the hardest things I've ever had to go through again after, going through it 30 years ago.
Brian Ruff disappeared in 1991 and was later found dead. That's why Jennifer Campbell, Ruff's widow, wants this man, Dale Bradley, to stay in prison. He has a parole hearing on April 15th. Bradley was convicted of killing and kidnapping Ruff.
I do not want him paroled.
Campbell and Ruff had one child and another on the way. Ruff, the victim, was working as a guard at Kennecott Copper Mine alongside Dale Bradley. Then
it had come out that there had been an affair
between Ruff and Dale Bradley's then wife. About a year and a half after he disappeared, Brian Ruff's body was found here, 5 Mile Pass along the Tooele-Utah County line. It would be another decade before anyone was charged with the crime. Prosecutors charged Bradley in September of 2005. He later entered an Alford plea. It allows defendants to plead guilty without admitting guilt.
When he took the Alford plea, it was clear he wasn't going to take responsibility for what he did.
Bradley was sentenced to up to 40 years in prison, but it's not just Campbell and her late husband's family that will be watching Bradley's parole hearing.
Well, since Dale is coming up for parole, there seems to be a lot more interest in our daughter's death right now.
That's because after Dale Bradley divorced his earlier wife, he married Crystal Bradley. Crystal Bradley was found dead near her home in Wellington in 2005. In fact, it was her death that helped find new evidence against Dale Bradley in the Ruff case. But Dale Bradley has never been charged with crimes related to his late wife. Daniel Carpenter was Crystal's dad. Shayna Noel was her sister.
He's been the only point of interest so far in the investigation.
I can say that the evidence in this case points to his involvement in her murder.
Tom Stefanoff investigated Crystal Bradley's death for the Carbon County Sheriff's Office until his retirement in 2017.
I can tell you that there's a lot of similarities between the Ruff case and Crystal's case. Jealousy, resentment, affairs.
The night this happened morning, she was getting ready to come home to leave Mr. Bradley.
The Carbon County Sheriff's Office is still investigating Crystal Bradley's homicide.
If anybody knows anything, we know it's been 20 years, but anyone can come forward with if they have any information regarding Crystal's murder.
It could be weeks before the parole board announces its decision and Campbell learns whether she has anything to fear. For now, at 5 Mile Pass, Nate Carlisle, Fox 13 News, Utah.
If you have a story you want the Fox 13 News investigative team to look into, send them an email at iteam@fox13now.com.
Well, nice day here across the state. A little bit of cloud cover throughout the afternoon. Temperatures, though, well above average, getting back into the 70s in Salt Lake City. So afternoon highs almost actually above 10 degrees above average, where we're going to see a little bit of a cool down come tomorrow. Now the record for today, 84 degrees. We are heading for the 80s as we look towards the end of the week. Outside right now, though, as we've got partly cloudy skies here along the Wasatch Front. Temperature in Logan, 56 degrees. We're in the low 60s at this hour in Salt Lake City. 50s in Price, still hanging on to the 70s in St. George. Here's what we're expecting. Right on our doorstep, we have an approaching cool front. It's a dry, cool front. It's going to be pushing through for northern central Utah. We'll see a minor drop in temperatures. Thereafter, though, high pressure builds in. A major jump in temperatures thereafter as we're going to keep conditions mainly dry. No major storms over the weekend, though. We can maybe see a few rain showers here across northern Utah. But looking at the winds, as it was a little breezy today, winds will be calming down here in the overnight hours. The focus of the stronger winds towards eastern Utah, coming out of the southwest, where the front is going to be changing the direction from the west. But it's going to take a little bit of time before it reaches eastern Utah. It gets there through the afternoon. Coming off the Wasatch Mountains, the Wasatch Plateau, Castle Country, will be looking at some winds and gusts upwards of 35, maybe 40 miles per hour. Then the winds dying off thereafter. This high pressure will quickly build back in and we won't have the concern with the winds. Now, shower threat, not much as I mentioned from the storm. Currently, though, we're beginning to see upper level moisture increasing. We've got the clouds. Radar showing a little bit of activity, light green indications that we're not seeing much hitting the ground, except near the Utah-Idaho border. You're seeing that little bit of a darker green. Yeah, we might generate some sprinkles near the border. Front moves in, but again, it's not going to do much precipitation-wise, just bringing that change in temperature. Let's confirm that, though, as we take a look at the computer models. There tomorrow morning, we're seeing the clouds. We're not seeing anything from future radar. What's the projections? Yeah, we maybe see maybe a few mountain sprinkles. Front moves through central, then eastern Utah. Pushes on. We're not going to see a drop in temperatures across extreme southern Utah. You're hanging on to the sunshine. We start getting rid of the clouds as we head into Wednesday and Thursday. We'll have partly cloudy skies for a few moments, but all in all, temperatures on the rise. And once again, we're going to keep the showers away. Tonight's lows, as you can see, 40s and 50s here throughout northern Utah. Maybe a few colder spots through central Utah. Looks like we'll be looking at 50s here along the Wasatch Front to start the day off. But we want to give you, looking at the forecast for tomorrow's season home opener, B Stadium, South Jordan. Game starts at 6:35, so leading up to the game, we'll have partly cloudy skies. It's a little breezy, as it typically is in South Jordan. But of course, with the storm moving in, or I should say the cool front moving in, that'll also bring in some winds. Temperatures cooling off in the 50s, not until 9 o'clock. So a very comfortable evening for that first game opener. So yeah, get out there if you can. I'll be there for tomorrow's live weather. 4, 5, and 9. Now here for tomorrow, throughout the state, still holding on to the 70s through central Utah. We're working our way up into the low 80s in St. George. So temperatures drop a little bit here across northern Utah, but they're still above average. As we go low 80s in St. George to 90s Thursday, Friday into the weekend, we'll start kicking up the winds. Front moves through for you. Doesn't bring rain, but it will drop temperatures Sunday through Monday. Northern Utah, as I mentioned, this little weak system coming through mainly could generate a few isolated sprinkles for the mountains in extreme northern Utah. Wasatch Front, you're staying dry. You're enjoying the sunshine Wednesday through Thursday. Then we start to see some winds Saturday, some cooler temperatures Saturday, but look on Friday, warmest day of the week, low 80s, but by Sunday and Monday, we're dropping down to the 60s. And this is where we should be for this time of year. So a hint of summer as we go Thursday through Friday. We're back after the break.
Salt Lake police have arrested a man who they believe was behind the wheel of a deadly crash. It happened Saturday night at 900 West and 200 South in the Poplar Grove neighborhood. Police say the suspect, Colby Bia, was driving under the influence of alcohol when he ran a red light and hit another vehicle. The other driver, Ernesto Puga, died on scene. Court documents indicate there were open containers of alcohol in Bia's car. He also resisted arrest. Bia now faces charges of DUI and automobile homicide. The trial of a Camas woman accused of killing her husband is now on hold. Earlier today, a judge denied a defense motion to move Corey Richens' trial from Summit County to Salt Lake County. She faces felony homicide charges for allegedly poisoning her husband, Eric, in 2022 and then writing a children's book on grief. The defense argued Richens' standing in Summit County and the extensive media coverage could potentially taint the jury pool. The West Haven woman accused of starving her 12-year-old stepson, Gavin Peterson, last year has pled guilty to being involved in his death. 51-year-old Nicole Scott pled guilty today to several charges, including first-degree felony murder, as part of a plea deal. The original charge of child abuse homicide was dropped. Gavin's biological father, Shane Peterson, and his brother, Tyler Peterson, both pled guilty last month. Sentencing is scheduled for May 12th. Coming up, remembering the first Black Republican woman in Congress, Utah's Mia Love, as she was laid to rest. Flags are at half-staff in Utah as family and friends celebrate the life and mourn the death of former Congresswoman Mia Love. Her historic contributions as a Utahn and politician were recognized today.
Hello, Max Roth here. I'm at the University of Utah, the Institute of Religion for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, where I have spent much of the day attending the service for Mia Love, celebrating her life. This was a chance that we got to hear from people who knew and loved her best, not a glimpse that we've gotten in the past. A real glimpse of a woman who was full of life, and so much of that was dedicated to her family.
So I'll sing hallelujah. You were an angel in the shape of my mom.
Former Congresswoman Mia Love's sister read her daughter Carly's presentation for her third grade Black History Month assignment just this past February.
The most important role and the most important title that Mia Love played in my eyes was Auntie, because Mia Love was my favorite aunt.
And Love's husband, Jason, shared moments from before and after her diagnosis with glioblastoma, brain cancer, including courage in the face of death, a secret joy after a public loss, and Mia taking charge from the start in their relationship.
And she said, Jason, I want you to know I'm not in this relationship just for fun. If it doesn't look like this is leading toward marriage, I will move on. When Mia lost her election in 2018, while some may have been sad, we celebrated at home. We celebrated because it was a time for her to be with our younger children as they were finishing high school. We periodically spoke about this moment and the potential of one of us dying early. And as we considered the possibilities, again, she would take a jab at me and say, look at how well my family's aging. Remember, Jason, black don't crack. Very few people know the story behind this picture. She looks amazing, doesn't she? Beautiful, courageous, confident. But few know that this photo shoot took place 2 weeks after her first craniotomy and cancer resection surgery. I asked her to reschedule. She wouldn't hear it.
Love was only 49 years old when she died, but she lived to know her children had grown up strong, healthy, and confident. And those children, Elisa, Peyton, and Abby, read a last message that Mia Love wrote about the country she dedicated much of her life to.
My parents immigrated to the United States with $10 in their pocket and a belief that the America they had heard about really did exist as the land of opportunity.
What I know is the goodness and compassion of the American people is a multiplier that can simply not be measured.
Like Benjamin Franklin and countless patriots down through the ages, I believe the American experiment is not a setting sun, but a rising sun.
When I fell down, you'd be there holding me up. Spread your wings blessings as you go. When God takes you back, he'll say, hallelujah, you're home.
One thing that clearly brought joy to Mia and her family in this circumstance as she was going through treatment for brain cancer was that she was able to meet and hold her first grandchild before she died. In Salt Lake City, Max Roth, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Fox 13 News spoke with several of Mia Love's close friends at today's service about how they will remember her.
She was a patriot. She loved our country. Being an immigrant and her parents from Haiti.
Approaching our politics with less contention and just standing for the things we believe in, and I think she was amazing at that. What a great influence she was in my life, and I'm just grateful for that.
She was a leader, not because of her political position, but just because she would go after stuff and give an example to others of just not backing down.
We're going to mourn together. We're going to remember our friend who has left us way too soon.
If you missed today's funeral service or wanted to watch any of it, we have a video of the entire service on our website, fox13now.com. Coming up, an update on the middle school student in Cedar City who was hit by 2 cars on I-15, how people in southern Utah are rallying around her. Plus, a deadly shooting in Springville is having a ripple effect in that community. The shock and consequences after shots rang out in Utah County. And hear convicted murderer Lori Vallow Daybell's opening statement as she defends herself in a second murder case in Arizona. We're now hearing from neighbors who say they're still processing after a deadly police shooting in Springville. Officers responded to calls of a woman screaming near 200 South, 300 West on Saturday night. They say a man came out with a knife and stabbed a police officer. Police shot him and he later died at the hospital.
My fiance was really worried. She thought that they were shooting at the house, and so she was telling everyone to get down. I see the effect that it's having on my fiance. She really grieves for the what we assume to be the mother, or the wife. Either way, she lost somebody.
Police say the injured officer suffered a minor stab wound, and 2 officers are now on leave. Fox 13 News has learned the 14-year-old who was hit on I-15 in Cedar City had successful surgery tonight. The community is rallying around Trinity Dennis. Utah Highway Patrol says she was on her way to Canyon View Middle School when she was hit by multiple cars on Friday morning. Friends say people and businesses are raising money and helping feed the family.
There's some days that I don't know how they keep going. And I've seen time and time again this community come together for not just kids, but adults, just people that are injured, people that have tragic moments in their life.
Organizers tell Fox 13 News they'll be ready to serve as long as needed. Today was day 1 of Lori Vallow Daybell's murder trial in Arizona. She has already been sentenced to life in prison for the deaths of her 2 children in Idaho. Now she's defending herself in a murder conspiracy trial over the death of her previous husband at the hands of her brother 6 years ago. Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Craft reports from Phoenix.
A packed day inside the Phoenix, Arizona courtroom for the first day of Lori Daybell's conspiracy to commit murder trial. During opening statements, Lori became emotional and jurors leaned in.
The evidence will show that Tylee and Charles fought over the bat, and that after a struggle over the bat, Tylee fell onto the ground, and Charles lifted up the bat to hit Tylee with the bat. The evidence will show that Alex then intervened to protect Tylee from being hit with the bat. He did not have a gun. The evidence will show that at some point while I was running away from Charles, who was chasing me with the bat, that Alex apparently retrieved his gun. The evidence will show that I ran outside to the children and that Alex shot Charles in self-defense.
Lori told jurors that the killing of her fourth husband by her brother Alex Cox was a family tragedy, not a crime. The state told jurors this was murder.
Ladies and gentlemen, the evidence in this case is going to show you that Lori Vallow Daybell conspired with her brother Alex Cox to kill her husband, Charles Vallow.
As body camera footage played of a paramedic rendering aid to Charles Vallow, the victim in this case, his sister, Kay Woodcock, who was sitting in the front row, had to be consoled. Testimony continues Tuesday. That's the latest from Phoenix, Arizona. Kelly Craft, Court TV.
Even though the NHL regular season is coming to an end, the Utah Hockey Club isn't winding down. Fox 13 Sports anchor Jeff Rainier shows us the progress being made at the club's facilities. And Fox 13 Sports reporter Andrea Urban talks to Utah Jazz play-by-play announcer Craig Bolerjack as the team wraps up their season this week.
And as one season wrapping up, baseball season getting started. Here's a view of a drone footage coming up on our Facebook page from Chris Williams, highlighting the Bees Stadium in South Jordan. A beautiful sunset, though those stadium lights will be on tomorrow. What will the forecast be? I'll let you know after the break.
A warning for anyone driving on I-80 near 60th West over the next 2 weeks. Starting at 5 tomorrow morning, I-80 will be down to just one lane in each direction between 7200 West and 5600 West. Crews are working on bridge maintenance. We don't know exactly how long it'll take, but UDOT wants everybody to plan on travel delays. Well, I tell you what, it was a beautiful weekend to go traveling, and today was pretty nice and warm. You can tell that winter is over and spring is here.
Oh, I'm hoping it's all over.
We're not going to get more snow at some point.
We don't see snow in the forecast, at least here for the next 7 days. But boy, we've had snow, yes, in the end of April, first part of May. But right now, not a worry. You mentioned traveling, Bob. Yeah, many people doing some traveling here throughout this week. Of course, spring break. Northern and southern Utah, we've got some toasty temps in the forecast. Right now, mild though in St. George. Temperature right now 72 degrees as we are in the low 60s at this hour in Salt Lake City. Winds fairly light. It's been a breezy day though in preparation of a cool front that's going to move through. That cool front will be dropping temperatures for tomorrow, but still above average now. The official high today 71. Tomorrow we're looking at mid 60s. Again, we should be at 60 degrees. We will be heading for the 80s though by the end of the week. Don't think we'll be breaking any records, but getting close. As we look ahead, though, where St. George, you're preparing for 90s as we look towards Thursday, Friday into Saturday. As we're seeing, though, over the next 7 days, chances of precipitation just not there. Now, we've got this little system moving through come tomorrow morning. That's not going to generate any rain here along the Wasatch Front. We might see some sprinkles across extreme northern Utah. We do see another front that's going to be pushing through the weekend. Now, this next system looks like it'll bring some mountain showers, maybe a few spotty showers, but again, it's not widespread and it's not persistent and it's not a lot that's coming through for the weekend, but it will be dropping temperatures once again as we look. So we're going to go down, then back up, and then back down. That's kind of the trend here looking ahead temperature-wise. Now, as we talk about this next system, it is bringing in some upper-level moisture and a few, again, very light rain showers here as we're moving through southern Idaho in Box Elder County. Again, that's associated with the front that's going to be marching in as we look towards tomorrow morning. So we're pushing in some clouds. Clouds will be in place throughout the morning. We're going to see a wind direction change mainly out of the west tomorrow. And then once we get past tomorrow, that high pressure quickly making a comeback and a strong comeback, building in that ridge of high pressure will allow those temperatures to bounce back into the 70s and then heading for the 80s here across northern Utah. A few spots across southern Utah, looks like 90s before we get another dip in the jet stream, which will usher in a cool front as we head into Saturday. Sunday, we see a bigger temperature drop where temperatures actually return to average. Now for southern Utah tomorrow, will be warmer, still a little breezy. You can see highs in the low 80s in St. George. Other locations like Kanab, it looks like mid mid-70s and even 80s in Bullfrog. Central Utah, Manti 69, Richfield 70. Now, you're going to be hanging on to some afternoon winds out of the west at 10 to 15 miles per hour. We'll say partly cloudy skies, and then turning towards eastern Utah, mostly sunny. Warmer afternoon, though. The winds start kicking up. It will be a calm start to the day, though. Temperatures will be close to 80 degrees in Moab. It looks like mid-70s in Green River. Northern Utah, you've got low 60s in Logan, mid-60s in Brigham City, near 60 degrees in Huntsville, out to the low 50s. So, yeah, many people are, of course, under spring break, still doing some spring skiing for those ski resorts. St. George, though, you're just thinking of the sunshine and these warm temperatures, and maybe heading for the lake Thursday and Friday into the weekend. Weekend, though, we'll have some winds and some cooler temperatures. Northern Utah, mid-60s to 70s to 80s before we see the drop, where we see some winds and some clouds, but we don't see the rain. Temperatures returning to average, though, by Sunday and Monday, but warming up here until Friday, where we do get up into the 80s as we head into the weekend.
Thanks so much, Breck. Tomorrow is a big day for baseball fans here in Utah. Salt Lake Bees will have their home opener at the new ballpark in South Jordan. Fox 13 News has been following the big changes for the team and the fans. Join us for live coverage throughout the day tomorrow, starting at 6 a.m. with Good Day Utah, ahead of the home opener against the Reno Aces, and later during our afternoon and evening newscasts.
We did a miraculous job with the oval, but at the same time, that's not this.
The Utah Hockey Club completed a major milestone in the construction of a permanent practice facility. I'm Jeff Rainier at the Shops in Southtown. The team held a ceremonial signing of a beam at this site, which they believe will be one of the best places to practice in the National Hockey League.
Brand new is always a good thing. I think it'll be right up there, hopefully top 5. I don't think we've spared a whole lot. It should be the #1 place that our community interacts with this brand.
The 115,000 square foot state-of-the-art practice and training facility will serve as the team's headquarters, and it will be open to the public. 2 NHL standard regulation ice rinks will be available to the public when not used by the team, which will help grow the game here in Utah. And who knows, even develop players that could someday play on the U.S. hockey team.
We can play a massive part in that. And that's pretty unique to kind of have a hand in the development of what could be part of the USA team in the future. I think that Utah should be a part of that. And so that's how big this vision's going to become. And I think everyone sees it. It's not a matter of if, but just when. There's nothing we've seen like this in sports in this state, where you've got a Big Four franchise with this much access to the community. And I think that's what inspires dreams.
They expect this site to be done September 1st. From Sandy, Jeff Rainier, Fox 13 Sports Utah.
I'm Fox 13 sports reporter Andrea Urban. The Utah Jazz close out the regular season this week, a less than 20 win record for the first time in franchise history. A tough season that could lead to a brighter future. Here's my exclusive conversation with play-by-play announcer Craig Bolerjack.
Jazz looking for their first road win since early January.
You try to always look, Andrea, at the positives, and you can get, sidelined to look only negative. Obviously, win-loss record is one of those things. This whole season, Thurl and I have tried to find some positives each and every broadcast. There has been growth. I think that's one thing you have to hang your hat on, that, the Jazz decided to see what they had. And Isaiah Collier comes to mind first. Will made a bold move to move Keontae to the bench, and Isaiah has taken the opportunity, I think, to make, leaps and bounds in his growth. The Jazz have to be impressed with the way that Isaiah started the season and where he is now. Jazz fans have to remember that the bottom 3 teams will all have the same percentage to be the #1 pick. It just depends on Lady Luck. And was this season of development and kind of a strip down of the Jazz pay off? And if the Jazz get that #1 pick, then excitement explodes and it's renewed, because there's still some good players on this team that can elevate the Jazz back into postseason play. Now, if they don't, then it's a total rethink by the front office on what direction they want to go. There's pieces here. It just depends on how fast they want to push this along, but also how lucky, Andrea, they are. Don't forget, Danny also has, can I use the word plethora, a bucket full, whatever you want to say, of picks. Whether he can move up, move down, move around, get another first-round pick with those picks, who knows what he has in mind. I think that's the most intriguing part of it too. The Jazz have a lot of options with draft picks included if by chance they do get the number one.
Thank you to Craig Bolerjack for his time. The Jazz play their final home games of the season Wednesday and Friday before closing out the season on the road in Minnesota on Sunday. In studio, Andrea Urban, Fox 13 Sports.
And finally in sports tonight, in San Antonio, it was the men's finals for March Madness. The Florida Gators defeated the Houston Cougars in the Alamo Dome 65-63. Houston was ahead most of the game, but the Gators mounted quite a comeback to deny the Cougars their first title. It's Florida's third time winning it all at the Big Dance and their first title since 2007. We'll be right back. Loveland Living Planet Aquarium got some new animals today. 4 macaroni penguins, known for their distinct yellow crest, joined the Penguin Research Station. There are 2 males and 2 females. They'll live together with 22 Gen 2 penguins. You can help name them. Just go to the Loveland Living Planet Aquarium website. Submit up to 4 names by midnight Wednesday. And today was International Beaver Day. We talked with the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources about the importance of beavers to our ecosystem.
We know they build dams. That's sort of what they do. So that does a lot of things. Sometimes it can be beneficial and sometimes it can cause some conflicts. But for the most part, they provide a pretty big benefit to other animals around them. So what they'll do is they'll create a dam, back up water, create ponds and that whole system becomes really good for fish.
If you're interested in learning more about beavers or other wild animals in general, Utah DWR has a great resource online called Wild Aware Utah. Finally, Breck, what about the forecast for the Bees tomorrow?
Great weather for a baseball game. Yeah, we're going to be looking at 60s to start the game off at 6:35. As you head home, though, upper 50s. This is going to be nice. Winds should be dying off, so it's going to be a great day and a great evening for a baseball game.
Take me out till the ball game.
Let's do it.
All right. Thanks for being with us. QuickCast is up next.